Have you ever looked at someone and thought, they're better than me, smarter, funnier, more successful? Maybe you've scrolled through social media and seen people traveling, smiling, achieving incredible things, and you've whispered to yourself, why can't I be like them? We all do it, we all compare, but we often don't realize that comparison is a thief. It silently steals our joy, our confidence, and our peace of mind. It convinces us that we're not enough, even when we already are. This is the story of David, a young boy who lived in a small, quiet village nestled between mountains and rivers. He was kind, humble, and full of dreams. But deep inside, David carried a heavy, sadnessy, persistent voice that constantly told him he wasn't good enough. When his classmates got better grades, he felt stupid. When someone ran faster, he felt weak. When others spoke with confidence, he would stay quiet, afraid his words weren't worth hearing. He didn't hate others for their success, he hated that he couldn't see his own. Every night, as he lay in bed, David would replay his day, the same questions echoing in his mind. Why am I not like them? Why can't I be as smart, as strong, as talented? He didn't realize that these thoughts were slowly poisoning his spirit, dimming his inner light. One afternoon, as he sat by the river, listlessly throwing stones into the water, an old man named Grandpa Thomas walked by. He was known as the wisest man in the village, someone who had lived long enough to understand the quiet struggles of the human heart. He looked at David, his eyes full of warmth, and asked gently, "My boy, why does your face look so heavy?" David sighed, a sound that seemed to carry all his worries. "Everyone around me is better than me, Grandpa. I study hard, but I don't top the class. I run as fast as I can, but I never win. No matter what I do, I always feel like I'm behind." The old man smiled kindly, a knowing look in his eyes. "Ah," he said softly, "the poison of comparison has found its way into your heart. Come with me tomorrow morning. I want to show you a lesson you will never forget." The next morning, the sky was painted with the breathtaking colors of sunrise. They walked together into the forest. The air was cool and crisp, and the birds were singing their morning songs. They stopped beside 3 different plants, a towering oak tree, a delicate rose bush, and a tiny fern growing humbly in the shade. Grandpa Thomas turned to David and asked, "Tell me, which of these is the best?" David thought for a moment, looking at them all. "The oak, I guess. It's so big and strong." The old man smiled. "Look carefully. The oak grew tall because it had access to sunlight and developed strong roots to support its size. The rosebush grew beautiful flowers because it had patience and focused its energy on creating beauty. And the fern, it stayed small because it grows where the sun can easily reach, but its green leaves still add life and color to the forest floor." He paused, letting the words sink in. If every plant tried to become a giant oak, this forest wouldn't be beautiful anymore. It would lose its variety, its character. Each plant has its own purpose, its own conditions for growth, and that is what makes this forest whole and complete. David listened, puzzled but deeply curious. Grandpa Thomas then pointed to a nearby river. "See that bird flying high above the water, and that fish swimming gracefully below?" David nodded. "Now, what if that bird tried to swim like the fish? It would drown," David replied without hesitation. "And what if the fish tried to fly like the bird? It would fall and die." Grandpa smiled. "Exactly. Both are perfect, but only in their own world. The bird was made to fly, and the fish was made to swim. You can't compare them, just like you can't compare yourself to others. You were made for your own path, your own journey, your own unique purpose." For the first time, David felt something shift deep inside him. It was as if a heavy stone, one he hadn't even realized he was carrying, had been lifted from his heart. He realized he had been trying to live like others, to chase their strengths while completely ignoring his own. He wasn't weak, he was simply, wonderfully unique. That night, David sat outside his house, looking up at the countless stars scattered across the dark sky. He remembered the oak tree, the rose bush, the fern, the bird, and the fish. Each of them lived differently, yet none of them were wrong. They were simply being what they were meant to be. He whispered to the quiet night, "I don't have to be like anyone else. I just have to be me." A genuine smile spread across his face, the first one in weeks. From that day on, David began to change, quietly and surely. He stopped looking at others to measure his own worth. Instead, he focused on what he could do, and he did it with love and dedication. He started helping his classmates when they struggled with their lessons. He read books not to compete, but purely for the joy of learning. He even picked up drawing, something he had always secretly loved, but never thought he was good enough to do. And as he did this, something magical happened. People began to notice his calm confidence, his kindness, and his patience. He no longer spoke the loudest, but when he did speak, people listened intently. He no longer chased attention, but he naturally drew respect and admiration from those around him. David didn't become the best in the way he once imagined. He became himself, and that, he discovered, was more than enough. Years passed. David grew into a wise and gentle young man, and people from his village often came to him for advice. One day, a young boy approached him, his face clouded with the same sadness David had once carried. The boy said, "Everyone is better than me. I feel useless." David smiled gently, his eyes full of understanding, and said, "Let me tell you a story about a tree, a bird, and a fish." And so, the cycle of wisdom continued. So, my friend, remember this story. The moment you stop comparing yourself to others is the moment you truly begin to grow. When you stop chasing someone else's life, you finally start living your own. True happiness doesn't come from being better than others. It comes from being the best possible version of yourself. You were never meant to be like them. You were meant to be you, kind, strong, flawed, beautiful, and wonderfully, perfectly real. Stop comparing. Start appreciating. Your time will come. Your light will shine. And when it does, you'll realize that you are always enough, just as you are. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more motivational English stories every week. Here, you'll not only practice your English, but you'll also find lessons that can help make you stronger, wiser, and more peaceful inside. Because learning English isn't just about words, it's about learning life. Thank you for listening.